Hi, my name is Jose Manzo, and I will be presenting on photosynthesis, one of the most important biological processes on Earth. Every breath that we take is made possible by this process. Photosynthesis is responsible for producing more than 98% of the oxygen in our atmosphere. Every meal that we eat can be traced back to this process, whether it's fruits, vegetables, or even meat. It all starts with plants using sunlight to create food for us to eat. Photosynthesis is also responsible for the balance of gases in our atmosphere, particularly oxygen and carbon dioxide. It helps reduce carbon dioxide levels, playing a critical role in slowing down climate change. The energy stored in fossil fuels originated from photosynthesis millions of years ago when they were storing their energy in tissues. Without photosynthesis, life as we know would not exist. In this presentation, we'll break down how it works, the structures involved, and how it impacts ecosystems, agriculture, and even modern science. At its core, photosynthesis is a chemical reaction where light energy is used to convert simple molecules into complex sugars. The balanced chemical equation for this process is 6CO2 plus 6H2O, which turns into C6H12O6 and 6O2. Carbon dioxide is absorbed from the air through small openings in the plant leaves called stomata. Water is taken up from the soil by plant roots. Light energy is captured by chlorophyll, which is a green pigment in plants. And then the products are glucose, which is a simple sugar used by plants for energy and growth. And oxygen is released as a byproduct into the air, which we breathe. There are two main stages of photosynthesis: the light dependent reactions and the light independent reactions, also known as the Calvin cycle, but we will get more into detail about those later on in the presentation. Overall, this process powers almost all the ecosystems on Earth. Chloroplast. Now that we understand what photosynthesis is and why it's important, let's dive deeper into where it actually happens. The chloroplast. These are specialized organelles within plant cells and algae that serve as the site of photosynthesis. Chloroplasts are highly organized structures designed specifically to capture and convert light energy into chemical energy. Let's break down the components and how each plays a critical role. So we have the outer membrane, which acts as a protective barrier controlling the movement of molecules in and out of the cell. This allows essential molecules like water and carbon dioxide to enter while regulating the exit of oxygen and sugars. We have the inner membrane, which is just beneath the outer membrane, and it plays a crucial role in regulating metabolic activity within the chloroplast. It contains transport proteins that facilitate an exchange of molecules between the cytoplasm and the chloroplast interior. We have the thylakoid membranes where the light dependent reactions take place. These are disc like structures that contain chlorophyll. The pigment is responsible for capturing light. Inside the membranes, there's an electron transport chain that converts light into energy, producing ATP and NADP energy, which is needed for the dark cycles. The thylakoid lumen plays a role in maintaining a proton gradient, which is essential for ATP synthesis. The grana, which are stacks of thylakoids, are arranged um, in the surface, uh, which help with light absorption. A larger surface areas means more chlorophyll molecules are exposed to sunlight, increasing the plant's ability to absorb energy efficiently. And then last but not least, we have the stroma, which is a site of the Calvin cycle, which are the dark reactions. And this is where the plant uses ATP and NADPH produced from the light reactions to convert carbon dioxide into glucose. The stroma contains enzymes, ribosomes, and chloroplast DNA, allowing it to carry out its functions independently from the rest of the cell. Chloroplasts are dynamic and can adjust their position with plant cells based on light intensity. In low light, chloroplasts spread out to capture as much sunlight as possible. In strong light, they move to the edges of the cell to avoid damage from excessive radiation. Chloroplasts are essentially miniature solar power plants that capture sunlight and convert it into energy to sustain life. Without them, photosynthesis would not be allowed to take place. Photosynthetic pigments are molecules embedded in the thylakoid membranes of chloroplasts. They absorb specific wavelengths of light and allow plants to convert solar energy into chemical energy. Some functions of the pigments are to absorb light energy to the reaction centers in photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. They work together to ensure plants can capture a broad range of the light spectrum, and they also protect the plant from damage caused by excessive light exposure. Different pigments absorb different wavelengths of light, maximizing its efficiency of photosynthesis. Some act as primary drivers, while others expand the range of usable light or act as protection. Chlorophyll is the most important pigment in this process, for it is responsible for absorbing the light and initiating the conversion of light energy to chemical energy. We have chlorophyll A, which is the primary pigment. It absorbs blue, violet, and red light most effectively. It's directly involved in converting light energy into chemical energy and is found in both photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. We have chlorophyll B, which is a helper pigment. This expands the range of light absorption by capturing blue and orange light. It passes absorbed energy to chlorophyll A and is found in higher plants and green algae. Together, chlorophyll A and B ensure that plants can capture the most useful wavelengths to drive the process. We also have carotenoids, which assist chlorophyll by absorbing additional wavelengths and prevent oxidative damage from excessive sunlight. They absorb blue and green light, reflecting yellow, orange, and red, which is why many fruits and leaves display these colors. They help transfer energy to chlorophyll for photosynthesis, and they act as antioxidants to protect the plant cells from high energy light. Some examples are beta carotene, which is a precursor to vitamin A, and lutein, which is found in green leafy vegetables, which help with light radiation. And their roles in photosystem 1 is it contains chlorophyll A and absorbs far red light and produces NADPH, which is used in the Calvin cycle. And in photosystem 2, it contains chlorophyll A as well as the primary pigment, also absorbs red light, but it splits water molecules, but we'll get into that process later on. So we have the light harvesting complex, which is a group of protein-bound pigments found in the thylakoid membranes. It functions as an antenna collecting light and directing it towards the reaction center where the real conversion happens. It acts as an energy funnel, ensuring maximum light absorption and prevents energy loss. It works both in photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. There is absorption of light by antennas, with the various pigments using different wavelengths of energy. It is absorbed energy is transferred between pigment molecules moving towards the reaction center. And once the energy is gathered, it is directed toward a special pair of chlorophyll A molecules located in the reaction center. These molecules are uniquely positioned to release high energy electrons when they are excited by the light. When the chlorophyll molecules absorb their light, they become excited and enter a high energy state. These high energy electrons then are transferred to the ETC by the primary electron acceptor. We also have the Z scheme, which is a model that explains the movement of high energy electrons through two photosystems, which we touched a little bit on, which are photosystems 2 and photosystem 1. It is named after its characteristic zigzag energy pattern, where electrons gain and lose energy as they move through the ETC. This process occurs in the thylakoid membrane and is central to the light-independent reactions. The ultimate goal of this is to produce ATP and NADPH, which fuel the Calvin cycle. The light excites electrons in photosystem 2 and then become excited and reach a high energy state. These electrons are transferred to the primary electron acceptor, starting the electron transport chain. And then water splitting produces oxygen. To replace the lost electrons in photosystem 2, water molecules are split through photolysis, and this releases electrons, protons, and oxygen. This is the primary source of oxygen that we breathe. The next step is electron transport chain and gradient formation. As the excited electrons travel down the electron transport chain, moving through proteins embedded in the thylakoid membranes, energy is released through movement and pumps protons from the stroma to the thylakoid lumen, creating a gradient. The gradient will later drive ATP synthesis through chemiosmosis. The light excites electrons in photosystem 1, um, which allows excitement again through light energy, raising them to a higher energy level than previously, and then they're captured by another acceptor and move on to the next phase, where NADPH reduction and the formation of NADPH is seen. Next, we have the light-dependent reactions, where they occur in the thylakoid membranes of the chloroplast. These reactions use light energy to produce ATP and NADPH, which store and transfer energy to the Calvin cycles. The two main steps are the electron transport through the Z scheme from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1 and chemiosmosis, where ATP is synthesized by ATP synthase. The role of NADPH in light reactions um, is important because while ATP is being produced, the electrons that move through the ETC reach photosystem 1 where they're excited again by the light energy, and these electrons are used to reduce NADP plus into NADPH, which is an electron carrier, and the ATP provides energy while NADPH provides a reducing power, which both are essential for driving the dark reactions. This is a biochemical pathway that converts atmospheric CO2 into organic molecules like glucose. And this process occurs in three main phases, which is the carbon fixation process, where capturing CO2 from the air is seen, the reduction phase, where ATP and NADPH are used to build the high energy molecules, and the regeneration of RUBP, which is the recycling molecules to continue the cycle. In the Calvin cycle in numbers, for every one molecule of glucose produced, the Calvin cycle must run twice, and each cycle requires 3 CO2 molecules, 9 ATP molecules, and 6 NADPH molecules. And then the key enzyme here is ribisco. Um, it is abundant in many ways, but it is inefficient and slow, which limits the carbon fixation rate. The importance of photosynthesis is um, not just about plants, but also affects every aspect of our ecosystem and our climate. So for it's important because it produces the oxygen, which is the air that we breathe. As I previously stated, most of the oxygen produced is because of the plants, and but this processes would not occur. It is the foundation of the food chain, where it is the starting point of almost every food chain on the planet. Plants are mostly producers, which convert solar energy into chemical energy, which provide nutrition for other animals. Even decomposers rely on organic matter that originates from photosynthesis. For climate regulation, CO2 is a greenhouse gas that traps heat in the atmosphere. Plants absorb billions of tons of CO2, helping reduce the global warming. However, human activities like deforestation and burning fossil fuels have disrupted this balance, leading to an increase of CO2 levels. For agriculture and human nutrition, all the food we eat ultimately comes from photosynthesis, whether directly from plants or indirectly through the animals that consume plants. Understanding photosynthesis helps us improve crop yields, develop drought resistant plants, and enhance global food security. Photosynthesis and renewable energy is also demonstrated through photosynthesis because scientists are working on artificial photosynthesis, which is a groundbreaking technology that mimics plants to create clean, renewable energy from sunlight. If perfected, artificial photosynthesis could help us develop sustainable solar fuels, reducing our dependence on fossil fuels and slowing climate change. As you can see, photosynthesis is not just a process that happens in plants, it is the foundation of life and other processes that involve our future. As a summary, we covered a lot, so let's take a moment to summarize the most important points of this presentation. Photosynthesis is a chemical process that converts sunlight into energy, allowing plants, algae, and certain bacteria to produce food and oxygen. It is essential for sustaining life on Earth, providing the energy and oxygen that ecosystems depend on. Photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplasts of plant cells. It occurs in two stages, which are the light dependent reactions and generate ATP and NADPH, and then the Calvin cycles, which is where it converts CO2 into glucose. Light reactions capture sunlight, split water molecules, release oxygen, and produce ATP and NADPH. Calvin cycle uses ATP and NADPH, which are products from the light reaction, to convert carbon dioxide into glucose, which fuels plant growth and energy storage. And it's important because we're able to use the oxygen as byproducts from this process to breathe. It forms a foundation of the food chain, regulates atmospheric CO2, and mitigate climate change, and also supports agriculture, food production, and renewable energy with research. Photosynthesis is the most fundamental life sustaining process on Earth, as it influences every breath we take, every meal, and even the future of our planet. Understanding photosynthesis can help us tackle global challenges as climate change, food security, and sustainable energy production. It is a process that not only defines the past and present, but also shapes the future of Earth. Thank you.